This is a comic review of Fantasy Masterpieces issue 4 from Marvel Comics. Now this was one of their reprint titles. They had quite a few of these Marvel Collector's Items Classics and Fantasy Masterpieces. And this one came out in August 1966. It's a fairly tatty issue and just flakes of it falling off as I open it up. And I've been doing the reviews. So I'm just going to go through this, and there's the, doesn't even turn particularly well, so, and you've got all the various stories in there. I love the fact they put it on this sort of contents page at the start. Really quite nice. I mean, especially when you had the contents on the front as well. So why not just have it again? However, the next first page is Captain America 4. Now, of course, a lot of these have been done quite a few times. There's been various classics collections, there's been various omnibuses coming out, Marvel Masterworks, etc. Also the paperbacks as well. There's been lots. So a lot of these stories have been reprinted, and I think personally infinitely better than this. However, this still has some sort of the magic of this thing. You know, it's quite good. I love all. It's got all the supervising production. It's got all the details up there. See Marie Severin, artistic Amir, Stan Goldberg, Flo Steinberg. They put everyone in there, and even Irv Forbush. Good old Irv Forbush. And you've got the stories now. Of course, they are of their time. Obviously set in the war period, and you've got Captain America bopping loads of people. Take that, wise guy, and he shouts out, "Hey, cut that out." I love the way the bullet sort of twangs off his shield. Luckily it goes flying up, but I dread to think where it actually lands afterwards. So hopefully you weren't walking past and suddenly bullet hits you in the head. That wouldn't have been very good. And that happened quite a lot. I always thought when I saw with old Captain America I was thinking, where's the ricochet going from those bullets? However, you've got, of course, Bucky. Bucky's drawn, the drawings are very, very, yeah, they're still pretty good. I mean, there's nothing, I mean, you can't criticise the drawing, I mean, but it's, well, again, of their period and their time. They've got an energy, a raw energy that you would probably be hard pushed to have nowadays. And the stories go in a certain, they have their own logic in the story. Quite often the story just bounces off, you suddenly goes from one scene. So you've got here, they're in a, sort of, you've got this guy lurching towards Bucky, and then suddenly, mysteriously, we're in the camp, Fort Lehigh. Steve Rogers is also having his share of trouble. And it sort of jumps a bit, but not convenient. It's just halfway through the page. Whoop, straight off. We're off to another scene. And then, and so on and so on. So the story bounces backwards and forwards, and you've got Captain America nearly going to get drowned there. And you got this, you got really sort of whole heaps of creatures. Sort of, I love that. Look at that huge creature. Now the drawing again, it's not the best reproductions, and I think now it's been cleaned up, especially if you get those recent omnibus, the Kirby, Simon and Kirby one. And I didn't buy that, unfortunately. I imagine the artwork is even infinitely superior to this. So I think that's the best way to see these. But these are still pretty good. And so you've got that story there, the case of the fake money fiends, and there's no sort of stories like Thanos or any Doctor Doom characters. This is, I mean, Red Skull was probably the closest you had sort of to that sort of fiend, but he was nothing in comparison with the way, you know, the Cosmic Cube and all that sort of stuff. Really not in the same storylines, but you got like ghosts and things. Would Marvel Comics ever do a story now? Obviously, you got the Red Ghost, but like a ghost. Look, do you see what I'm seeing? You got a ghost there. And I always wonder if when they drew the old Captain America's thing, thinking, why did we make that shield so complex? Would have made it much easier if they just had a basic shield. They've obviously gone for a very complex. It must have been to keep drawing that each and every time at every angle. And sometimes you can really see that. Look at that. I mean, there's one here where he's just on this staircase or something's actually flying down, and you've got like this, the shield has become really flat and there's no sort of three-dimensional to it. And some of, unfortunately, this reprinting, you've really got some very smudgy reprinting. So this, I don't know where they got the prints and things to use for this. So it's very rough in places. However, still great, still absolutely, and they always end in a great way. They always end like in one page, bang, fight, bang, and then it's suddenly Captain America scores again. all over. I just love that those endings. This was Golden Age, typical ending. You'd have all the story, you'd have lots and lots of contrived story, and then you just, the final bit would be just a quick punch up, and the villain would be exposed to be some doctor or something, or whatever, mad doctor normally with a massive syringe or something, and the monster would fall on him, and he would, the syringe would go in it, and then Captain would say, and meets another good, an end, or there would be some witty end at the end, that sort of stuff. Maybe that didn't happen, but that's the sort of way that the stories always look to me. So you've got The Thing Called It. The Thing Called It. I'd say that's a slightly odd title. Chapter 1. Original presented, Strange Tales 82. Now, a lot of these, of course, you've got the Kirby brilliant Monster Editions omnibus, which I think are far, far superior game. Without comparing, it's going to be. But it's obviously, this is cleaner because this is obviously 1961. So this was very close to the period of Fantastic Four. So this would have come around about time that you would have been. So quite often when you look at these things, you see like this character here, you got him sort of growing, a bit like the Hulk. There's definitely sort of, you can see sort of similarities to Thing, the Hulk. So, yeah, or the obviously there, the Blob or Glob or whatever. And he's even called a plastic Hulk. So they're obviously, these ideas are sort of bouncing around in the mind at this point. It lives. And of course, there was It, the Colossus, and all those sort of stories. So It, obviously the Stephen King, I suppose. Now, often it's a really good story, though. I must admit, it is genuinely a good story. And I don't want to show how it ends. And then you off to the next story. Now this one's a Decade story. They vanished forever. I turned around to another one saying about Don Heck having an omnibus. Now, Decayers. Be brilliant if Decayers had be superb, an omnibus edition. Now, this one's from 1962. He did lots of great work, I think, Decayers. So, this one's obviously in the sea and that sort of stuff. I think there was quite a few ones where naval sea ones. So, yeah, just great story there. Can't be better. Good old pirate sort of tale. We're rich. On to the next story. I Am the Beast Man. This was originally presented in Astonished 12, and absolutely superb again. Now I'd say that's no, I'm going to be completely wrong. I'm saying no, that's not. But I think that's Don Heck. So you got that. But it doesn't actually weirdly say, and nor does it have the job code. So that some of this information sort of must have been removed. Previously titled Why did that? Why do that? I mean, look at that. Previously titled My Nightmare Has No End. Why change it? Makes no sense. I'm the Beast Man. No, that's confusing because the Beast, of course, is a character that's in the comics, X-Men, etc. So you've sort of introduced a bit of, confusion there. So you've got that story there, and then all the way through, and you finish off with a Captain America. And this one, of course, slightly more an evil menace of the Ivan the Terrible. This is Captain America 4. Now, I'm just going to quickly go back. I think the other ones, so it's all from issue 4. So you've got issue 4, I am your next prisoner, Ivan. And again, the artwork and the reproduction is slightly a bit rough in this copy. Obviously, it doesn't help the fact this is not a very good copy. I'm certain if it was a mint condition one, that it would be a lot. But you've got Betty Ross, daughter of this country's. So obviously, Betty Ross character most odd. Just introduced there, the daughter of this country's rightful king. Okay, so that's an interesting bit of story. And you go all the way through to, hooray! One thing I loved is more thrills and melodrama and memories from early days of comics in our next big brassy, nostalgia-filled issue. Let's grab an eyeful together, Marvel. And so you got that end bit that they would always blurb, they would put on it. But weirdly, there was no checklist. Unless I've lost that page, which is quite possible. So no checklist, no ball pen or anything like that to show what else was coming out from Marvel, which is very unusual. But I loved these Fantasy Masterpiece ones. They were great. Not all of them were just Captain America. Some had they were great because they had Black Knight, and you had like Venus and whatever. There was lots of good old, those sort of characters. They were brilliant. So this one, Fantasy Masterpiece, pretty worth checking out, these sort of old comics, especially like my issues, very tatty editions.